So let us start with today's episode. So what are the learning outcomes of today's lesson? So first we will be studying the absorption process of water and minerals by the roots. So today we will be discussing about the cell to cell absorption, like starting from A cell to moving on to B, C and so on. We will be discussing about the process of ascent of sap and the cohesive force. Then we will be discussing about the causative forces for the ascent of sap and the experiments to show that water is conducted only through the xylem tissues. There are several experiments to show that water is conducted through xylem tissues only, not through the phloem tissues. So those experiments I'll teach you with the help of several diagrams. So let us see what we are having in the first diagram. Now here we will be discussing about absorption pathway of water and minerals through plant. So what is happening here? Let us see. We all know that, just follow my red pointer. We all know that water is absorbed through the roots, and the root hair is actually a thin walled extension from the cells. So these are all epidermal cells, and root hair is an extension here outside the cells. They grow out pushing the soil particles. Okay, is it clear? Now this is a film of water, suppose, which surrounds the soil particle. Here a thin film of water is surrounding the soil particle. Is it clear? Now the water first, the root hair contains a cell sap inside, which has a higher concentration of salts than the outside cells. Now what happens? Due to osmosis, the thin film of water surrounding the soil particles will enter into this cell. Suppose this cell is cell A, and this all is happening due to root pressure. Now if this is cell A, as the water from outside enters the vacuole of cell A, it dilutes the concentration of sugar and salts in this cell sap. Okay. Now next to it is another cell which is assumed as cell B. Now as that cell is now in higher concentration than this cell, so water will gradually move from A cell to B cell. Is it clear? Now it is moving to the next adjacent cell, which is the cell C. Now the water entering B has already been diluted, and the cell next to it is in higher concentration. So water will move from this cell to C cell, and gradually and ultimately the water moves to this xylem vessels at the center of the root after so many stages, A, B, C cell, and at last it is moving to the center of the root and is conducted up the root and the stems into the leaves here. So this is how the absorption of water is happening. Now absorption of minerals by the roots from the soil also takes place through active transport. So in that case, what is happening? There is energy requirement of ATP. So we have all told about active and passive transport. So this is all what is happening is passive transport. It doesn't need any involvement of energy, that is ATP. But in mineral absorption, there the minerals move against the concentration gradient, and so the energy in the form of ATP is required. So now is it clear to all of you how the waters are transported from the root hairs to the xylem cells? Now next we will see what is there in the next slide. Now let us see here one TS of a dicot root we have taken here. This is the diagram. This is a transverse section through a dicot root showing the absorption of water and minerals. So what is here? Now we have seen that the elongated lignified tracheids and xylem vessels, these are xylem vessels. So what is happening here? We have shown you in the previous slide where from the A cell to the C cell, how the water is being transported. Now here in the transverse section, we will just see what is happening here. Now let us see what is happening here. Now here water enters the root cells by imbibition and then by the process of osmosis. Now this water from the root hairs passes gradually to the xylem vessels through the cortex, then the endodermis and then the pericycle. So it is the epidermis, the cortex, then comes the endodermis layer and then comes the pericycle. So it has to pass through several layers. In the previous slide I have shown you like what are the A cells, B cells, C cells and gradually to the xylem tissue. So that is the same thing which is happening here, but it is in the transverse section. I am trying to teach you again so that it should be very clear to you. So it is from the soil, it is passing to from the epidermis to the cortex layer, through the endodermis layer to the pericycle. Now gradually to the xylem vessels and tracheids by means of a pull exerted by the leaf cells at the top of the sap column. So this pull is called a cohesive force. I'll discuss that in the next slide. So what is this pull? It helps in the maintaining the continuity of the water column. So this is called the cohesive force. Now is it clear? If I have shown you in the previous slide, the same thing has been shown here in the transverse section of a typical dicot stem. So I have shown you the different layers and how it is passing to the xylem, through which it is being transported to the stem and to the tissues and different others, leaf and other parts. So let us see what is cohesive force. Now here first we will discuss about the ascent of sap. What is it? So it is the upward movement of water and minerals from roots to aerial parts. So to aerial parts means leaves, flowers and branches etc. of the plant against the gravitational force is called the ascent of sap. So the osmosis pushes the water to the root hairs. Now the root pressure pushes the water to the stem and gradually through adhesion and cohesion molecules, column of water molecules, it is reaching the leaves. And this upward movement of water and minerals from the roots to this aerial parts of the plant against the force of gravity is called the ascent of sap. So is it clear to everyone, dear students? Please go through my previous slides also. If you have not yet gone through it, I am putting the link. Please go through it so that it will be easier for you to learn this. And please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. So now we will move on to what is a cohesive force. So what is it? It is the force of adhesion which keeps the molecules of the same substance together. For example, water molecules. So I have told you that a stream of water, cohesive force, the water molecules, they are helping to send up the water to the plant stems and leaves. So cohesive force between the water molecules also helps to maintain the continuity of water column. So I think till now I have broken it into different parts and it is very much clear to you all. Now let us see what is there in the next slide. Now what are the causative forces for the ascent of sap? First and the foremost comes the root pressure. So what is it actually? Root pressure I have already discussed. So root pressure is created due to continuous influx of water in the xylem. So there is a continuous pressure created, and root pressure causes guttation and the exudation of the water droplets that can be seen on leaf surface. So this later on, this water, it moves with the cohesion, adhesion and transpirational pull. So the first point or the causative force of ascent of sap is root pressure. Now the second one comes the capillary nature of the xylem vessels. So what is it? Now xylem vessels are very narrow. This causes the water to form from the lower level to rise by a capillary action in order to fill up the vacuum and created at the leaves due to loss of water by transpiration. So what is happening? In transpiration there is a loss of water happening there. The xylem vessels are very narrow, so there should be a continuous supply of water to fill in the vacuum caused by transpiration. So there works the capillary nature of xylem vessels. Now next comes the pulling of xylem sap. So how does it help now the transpiration cohesion tension mechanism or the transpiration pull. So what is this happening here? So generally stomata are the sites of exchange of CO2 and O2. So this process we are going to discuss in a diagram, otherwise you won't be able to understand. So I'll move on to the diagram and I'll discuss about this transpirational pull or pulling of the xylem sac. Now let us move on to the last one of the cohesion and adhesion of water. So what is it? It is actually the transpirational pull on water extends from the leaves up to the root tip and even into the soil solution. So this cohesion of water is due to hydrogen bonding between water molecules, and each molecule is attached to the adjacent water molecule, and this pull is relayed from molecule to molecule down the entire column of water in the xylem. So this is the cohesion and adhesion of water. Now let us see this transpirational pull, how it is acting with the help of a diagram. Now here in this slide of transpirational pull, let us see first here what is happening. Now these are stomata, these are guard cells. During transpiration, these guard cells are open and stomata sites, they are causing the exchange of CO2 and O2. CO2 is entering the cell and O2 is leaving the cell. Now what is happening when the air outside is dry and moist, water leaves or water vapor leaves the leaf and the gaseous water diffuses outside the leaf through the stomata. So there is a loss of water during transpiration, and these mesophyll cells, their generation of tension is there in the leaf due to unique physical property of water. Now the thin film of water present in the mesophyll cell tries to replace the water vapor which is lost from the leaf stomata by transpiration. So how it will fill up its loss of water during transpiration? By a pull which it will create through adhesive and cohesive forces by pulling the water from the xylem vessels. So how it is happening? Let us see that. So this is happening that this tension is pulling, or it is creating as a suction force which draws the water from the leaf xylem. It is drawing out the water from the xylem through the mesophyll cells towards the stomata. So this is the xylem. It is drawing out the water from the xylem towards the mesophyll cells and then towards the stomata. So this vacuum is fully, it is filled up by the transpirational pull. So the water lost via transpiration is replaced by water that is pulled out of the leaf xylem. So I think it is quite clear to everyone. Dear students, if you are still not clear with this, please do write to me which topic, which part is not clear to me, and please go through all the slides clearly so that it is easier for you to understand. So in the next two slides, we will be discussing about a simple experiment which shows that only xylem is involved in the transportation of water and minerals in this plant cells. Now, how to prove that water is conducted through xylem only and not through phloem? So, we have taken two examples of plants, balsam plants, and two experiments were done on these plants to show that xylem is only conducting the water and minerals to different parts of the plant and it's not the phloem. So, what is happening? Let us first concentrate in the left side experiment. So, what we are seeing here, that a medium-sized balsam plant has been taken and it has been removed from the soil and we have placed it in a beaker. Now this beaker, we can see that it is eosin dye which is being filled in this beaker, and it is half filled in this beaker with the water containing eosin stain solution. Now you should ensure that this solution and the plant should stay in this exact condition, submerged condition for 3 to 4 hours. Now what will be the result? What to see here? We will take out the plant after 3-4 hours and cut out a transverse section of this stem. As it is passing through the roots as well as stem, we can cut out any part of the root or as well as the stem with the help of a sharp razor or a blade. Now when it is mounted under a microscope, we are going to see this part. So what is this part? This part is showing that the center xylem vessels have taken the color of the eosine dye. So this eosine dye, which is red in color, has stained only the xylem part. It is not staining the phloem part or any other part of the plant stem or roots. So hence it is proved that xylem is only helping in the conduction of water and minerals to different parts of the plant. So is it clear to everyone, dear students? Now let us move on to the second experiment. So what is happening here? In the second experiment, in the first plant, in this first setup, we have just cut out the phloem part, right, 2 inch or 2 centimeter from the this part. As I am pointing it with the help of a pointer, you can see the phloem part has been removed in the first experiment. Now, after keeping it in this position for 2 days, we can see that the leaves are they are turgid. So no problem is there in the transmission of water to the leaves through the root and the stem. So the leaves are in turgid condition. But in the second case, what we are doing, we are removing the xylem part and the phloem part is intact. So after 2 days, what we can observe? We will observe that the leaves are wilted. So what does it mean? That water is not reaching the leaves through the stem. So the xylem part has been removed. The phloem is intact. So we can, from these 2 experiments, we can come to the conclusion that xylem is only the part which conducts water and minerals to different parts of the plant body. So this is all for today. We have already completed all the parts of absorption by absorption through the roots and of plants, and this is what is the last part of the experiment which I wanted to tell you through this 2 experiments, and to sum up that all that we have done in these 2 lessons is tonicity, osmosis, imbibition, deplasmolysis, plasmolysis and all. And please go through all the topics so that it will be very clear for you to understand this plant physiology, how I have done it in a sequence, maintaining a sequence. So this is all for today. Thank you.